I started playing Viper pretty early in the inception, but it definitely wasn't my idea. I actually, basically one day at practice, Gordon and Matt, our coaches, had approached me and said that we think Viper can be extremely good if played correctly, and we hadn't really seen that with any team yet. And me being in the IGL role and me being kind of, I guess, that initiator, somebody who is like kind of people are playing around. My abilities are usually what initiates our strats and stuff like that. So I had no previous experience even like trying to pug her or just even what her abilities were really early on. But I just started practicing her a lot and playing her in scrims, and she's been pretty much exclusive. I mean, the only agent I've ever played on Split, and at this point the only agent I've ever played on Icebox. Pretty much Gordon, our assistant coach, came up with a game plan for how Viper can be utilized on Split, and then we just kind of developed upon that, and then I actually ended up really liking the agent. I think she's one of the best in the game, and yeah, it's been really fun exploring her because I don't really have anyone to really go off of. A lot of the stuff I'm just kind of creating as I go, what we've built on in the past. I think Viper is a very underutilized and underpicked agent, mostly just because a lot of teams, I mean, to be honest, I don't know if they want to really put in the time to understand why she's good or how to utilize her correctly. Viper is one of the best agents, but only if it's utilized correctly. I currently would never touch Viper in a pug or a ranked game ever. I think Viper is the worst agent ever for just playing with people who aren't going to play around you. So it just doesn't make much sense in ranked and stuff like that. And that kind of carries over to some teams as well. Some teams don't want to be patient and understand how to utilize the wall, how to utilize the smokes, how to utilize the mollies and play off of it correctly, then it's just not going to be picked. And a lot of teams are just falling under that category. I think it requires a lot of team play and it requires a lot of patience in order to pull it off. Viper is extremely good because a lot of times, I mean, we do still run a smoke, which some teams try running a Viper as like as the controller, as the Brim or Omen, but we currently run an Omen and a Viper, so it basically allows a lot of things, but the most important things is one, just extremely set and very brutal executes that are really hard to counter. Having a wall just denies so much vision. The smoke and the mollies are extremely powerful, and then it allows for fakes because, like I said, we have those double smokes, so I can constantly be putting the wall in different positions, and the wall is constantly baiting out rotates and stuff like that. So on top of that, it allows a lot of lurking, which I've kind of started going more into early when I started playing Viper, specifically to set up my team and play around the Viper specifically. But once we kind of got mastery around that and Split, I started playing more of a lurker role and trying to find openings based on my utility and placement and how I can play around it. But and on defense, it's extremely strong. We have a lot of setups based around just abusing people, not appreciating how strong her mollies are, which I think is like the strongest molly in the game. Even if you touch it for a second, you're vulnerable. Like, you legitimately, it's just one or two bullets of the rifle anywhere and you're dead. It doesn't have to be a good shot. So I think that utilizing her for dealing with rushes and just with pressure is extremely strong. To be competitive Viper, I think you need to just be okay with constantly using your utility to, for the better of the team, not necessarily for yourself. Learning lineups for these mollies and smokes that can be useful, and same goes for walls. Yeah, I'd really try and focus on setting up plays around the Molotovs. They're on both T side and CT side. There's a lot of aggression that you can prevent and a lot of aggression you can create with the Molotovs. I think those are probably the most important things, and then just making sure that your team understands what you're doing and how they can play around it. Currently, I think Viper's in a good spot. I think it's right on the edge. People are understanding, at least they're coming around to understanding how Viper is good. But I think if you buff it anymore, which I'm pretty sure that it is going to be buffed at this point, I think it's going to be too much. And I think it's going to start being picked a lot if it's buffed. I'm not sure how it will be, but currently I think the Molotovs are about as strong as they can be. In the wall and the smoke, maybe you could add the timer to be longer on that. Her ultimate, I think, is in a pretty good spot as well. I could see some changes to that, though, making it more consistent and stuff like that, or maybe making it a bit more stronger for the Viper inside of the ult. But I really think as soon as you adjust her a little more, it's going to be picked a lot, and it's going to be extremely overpowered. I don't know. I think it's in a good spot right now. I think if you nerf it any, depending on what the nerf is, it might not make it viable. I think it's kind of just in a really good spot. Viper's strengths, I think that he's one of the characters that people don't expect to be an extremely good side anchor, but I think he does do that really well on the CT side. So whether it's, timing your mollies correctly or using a one-way smoke, or even like I do a lot, utilizing my ult to basically lock down an entire part of the map, I think she's really strong for that. Weaknesses, if you're not careful and if you're not on top of it with wall placement, smoke placement, you can become a little predictable. So that's why you have to be able to throw in those fakes and stuff like that. But she can't pick up her wall, and once you place it, you're set with that for the round. So you got to play around it correctly, or the teams can start to read kind of what you're going for.